Good afternoon. This is Chapter 2, Part 3. In this episode, we're going to focus on harmony. Harmony. So, harmony is one or more pitches that supports and accompanies a melody. Harmony, now, when we normally listen to music, we hear the melody. It's usually what our ear is drawn to. And harmony is usually what resides beneath it, okay? It's usually a series of chords, perhaps a chord progression that kind of supports the melody. Okay, and for basically to have a chord, you need to have three or more pitches playing at the same time. So we have a quote here from Rameau. It says, "Harmony alone can stir the emotions." So let's go listen. Melody and harmony. So, as I said before, melody is kind of what our ear gets attracted to. It's usually the melody is played in soprano voice or up top. Okay, harmony traditionally is usually beneath the melody. And we can think about harmony as playing in the background or supporting this melody. Okay. So we look here at this image and we see this melody is up top moving with these quarter notes, okay? And then below it we'll see a series of chords, okay? And again, remember a chord is three or more notes. And we would look at melody as kind of a horizontal dimension where it moves linearly, okay? Because it's a musical sentence and it's a musical sentence through time. And harmony is going to be stacked intervals collected together, and in a vertical dimension. So we have a chord here, an F major chord. This is a C major chord here, and an F major chord. And that's kind of how music works. Let's listen to the melody first, and then I'll play the harmony. Okay. Now, the harmony below it, it's going to support the melody. Let's listen to that. Now, let's put them together. Consonance and dissonance. So, when we're talking about harmony, obviously there are several different types of harmony that we can encounter. Okay, the first would be a consonant harmony, which is where pitches are agreeable, they sound harmonious. Okay, other harmonies are going to sound more dissonant or coarse. The pitches would sound disagreeable or maybe even unstable. And lots of times throughout music, we'll have points of dissonant harmonies or unstable harmonies that transition and resolve into consonant harmonies. So, and thus we have an idea of resolution, okay? And a resolution is the idea of going from dissonant or unstable harmonies and moving and resolving to consonant harmonies. So let's do this. Let's listen to, I have three different examples here. Our first example is going to listen to some dissonant harmony or very coarse harmony. The next example is going to have more consonant harmony or very, very agreeable harmonies. Let's listen. And in the following example with resolution, we're going to start with some dissonant harmonies, and then it's going to go transition to a more consonant harmony. continuing talking about chords and harmony, in this slide, we'll look at how chords are constructed and kind of the basic chords that we find in Western harmony. Okay, so if we see here, we have the C major scale. Okay, so we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And if we construct chords on each of those notes, we'll have the primary chords that we find in each major scale. Okay, these chords are also called triads. Okay, and it consists of 3 pitches. Each scale degree is going to have a chord on them, and depending on the scale degree, will inform what type of chord it is. So C major, the tonic chord, is going to have a major chord. F major and G major are both going to be major chords. Okay, D and E, they're going to have minor chords. A is going to be a minor chord, and then B is going to be a different chord than major or minor. It's going to be what we call a diminished chord. Now, what we do with these chords, we label them with Roman numerals. Okay, and that will tell us, the Roman numerals will tell us how to identify these chords and how to really realize these chords if we're using what we call figured bass. Ostinato. Now, an ostinato is a reoccurring motive. Maybe it's a rhythm, maybe it's a chord progression that repeats over and over again. And this is used a lot throughout music. We definitely see it used a lot in the classical period. Lots of composers sometimes will use this ostinato called an Alberti bass that's played with a melody over top of it. This example is that we have here is from Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, and this is another example of an ostinato. Let's listen. How we use harmony. One of the most best ways that we use harmony is through the use of a chord progression. And a chord progression is going to be a series of chords that's played, and then it plays again and again. It's basically if we had a loop of the series of chords. One of the best examples of a chord progression is a 1-4-5 progression, where it's the 1 chord of a scale, the 4th chord, and then the 5th chord. If anyone's ever heard of 12-bar blues, that's a chord progression. It's it's 12 bars and has a set chord progression with it that blues players use. So another term that we want to be aware of is what we call cadence. And a cadence is kind of the ending of a work or an ending of maybe a melody. Okay. In this example, this is going to, since chord progressions are going to end with a cadence, so this is going to be associated with chord progressions. And it's going to add finality to the end of a work or to a progression. So let's listen to these examples. The first example I'm going to play is an example of a chord progression. The next example is of a cadence. Okay, and the purpose of a cadence is to bring the work to a close and add finality to the piece. The final example is a song Duke of Earl. Okay, and it has a chord progression that's played over and over again, and it also has a bass line to it. Let's listen to this. Duke of Earl, 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 Duke of Earl. As I walk through this world, nothing can stop a Duke of Earl. And you are my girl, and no one can hurt you. Oh no, yes I come on, let me pull you, darling, 'cause I'm the Duke of So this concludes Chapter 2, Part 3, talking about harmony in Western music. Please tune in next time when we're going to start talking about the music of the Middle Ages.